Here's what happens in a typical series of grade level classes that are held in the gym or the cafeteria or your largest indoor space. First, you have to set up the room. In your setup for the day, if there's a stage with a screen at the back of it or a screen that rolls down from the ceiling in front of the stage, should still stand down on the floor so you're near the kids. If it's a portable screen, arrange to get the biggest one you can find. Schools usually have small ones on hand, but there's often a big one at the district level. So you can use the school's projector or you can bring your own. If you use theirs, get to the school early enough to test it out before the teacher's meeting so that you know how it works. You and the custodian may be the only people in the building for an hour or so before school, and that's a good thing. They usually know everything. Make sure that the space you're using for the grade level classes is not cluttered with chairs or tables or basically anything. It has to be wide open because you want the kids to be able to sit on the floor, and you also need an activity space in the room. So leave out enough chairs for each teacher to have one and set them along the sides of the room with the kids to be seated on the ground in rows between the chairs facing the screen. If the school has a sound system, use theirs, but bring yours along just in case. You need only one microphone, and a collar mic or a lapel mic works well. Check out the audio connection in advance because your slideshow has songs and other audio for every grade. Remember the old adage, no tech, no show. So set up your slideshow in advance. We use a different critter for each grade, and generally we make the decisions based on the gentleness of the creature and the severity of the hazards that they face. For instance, monarch butterflies are great for preschool and kindergarten, and all we need to talk about are pesticides and weed killer, and that's really just pss, pss. But Florida panthers and black bears are better for 6th, 7th, and 8th graders because they get hit by cars and they're losing their habitat to housing and roads, and they're more physically threatening and also more endearing in a way. So set the show order for your PowerPoint or keynote presentation for the day by finding out the order in which the grades will be arriving in your space. Do that the previous evening because there won't be time on the day of your presentation to rearrange everything. Then as one grade departs, the next slideshow is ready to go for the next grade. It's important that you greet the kids as they come in. You want to be their friend right from the start. If the kids are pre-K through 3rd grade, you can have them fly like butterflies or hop like frogs or buzz around like bees as soon as they enter. As they come in, I suggest you play music related to the animal that they'll be learning about. For instance, if they're frogs, play 5 Little Speckled Frogs. Older kids may have trouble with this sort of playful activity, and you may have to win them over, but the little ones understand that you're as innocent and playful as they are, and they go right along with it. Then after they're all in the room, indicate where the logs are for the frogs to sit on or where the branches are for the butterflies to alight. And that gets them into rows as part of a game without you saying, okay, now settle down and get in your rows, which irritates them and makes you look like a bad guy. So now that they're seated, we have a focusing activity. There's a great video called Sing for the Planet or Sing for the Climate that we use as our theme song. It's in all our grade level slideshows. So have everybody watch the video through once and then get them to stand and sing it together while you play the song with subtitles. So they go through it twice, once just listening to it and the second time singing it. Now it's time to show them the vocabulary that you'll be using in their class. It's one slide, and you tell them up front, you don't need to learn to spell these words, but they are our vocabulary words for this class. So we'll review them at the end and see if we covered them all. The vocabulary is age and grade appropriate and uses some scientific terms that may come up in your presentation. We'll show this slide at the end, and if you forget to cover that item, you can simply give an explanation so they know the definition, but the terms usually get covered in your activity session or in the game or the slides or in the songs. Next, you introduce the animal that they'll be studying with colorful slides. So they see the animal with new eyes. For instance, they only know of one species of frog, but you can show them slides of dozens of different colorful frogs. And you can go over the life cycle of the frogs, showing them slides of eggs and polywogs, tadpoles, and then ask them what might make life difficult for their animal. So with frogs, they might come up with water pollution, and you could prompt them to come up with loss of habitat. For instance, you could say, are there more or less ponds and streams than there used to be? You might get them to be specific with pesticides, herbicides, chemicals in the environment, but that requires a little sophistication. Leave it up to them to come up with good answers, and then you can supplement. And now it's time for a game. So in our example, they became frogs and they hopped in. So now they're going to hop to the back of the room and spread out on scattered portable plastic spots or carpet squares, one frog per spot. And each spot represents a pond or a puddle. Then it's like musical chairs, but with spots. And when the music is playing, of course, it's 5 little frogs, they hop around off of their spots. But when the music stops, they need to hop onto a spot. None of our games are elimination games. The spots are disappearing thanks to you and the teachers, so the frogs need to gang up on the spots until there's almost no room. Then you can stop the game and have the frogs hop back over and sit down on their log again. Then they can discuss the experience. They can talk about what it felt like as a frog to have their habitat disappear and get crowded. Here's where you show slides with problems, like a photo of a waterway full of plastic waste, and you showed slides with solutions, specifics to our friends the frogs. For instance, you could show people pulling junk out of a waterway. There'll be one slide that tells them what we're doing unintentionally to make life difficult for that creature, and maybe a slide to show them what they can do to be good to the creature. Then you go over the vocabulary slide with them again to make sure you used all the words. You show a slide that says frogs need our help. You might say, raise your hands if you love frogs. And then you can sing for the climate song again and let them sing along. Now it's time to tell them about the assembly at the end of the day. Tell them, when I ask you what you studied, you should shout frogs. And when I ask you if frogs have a problem, you should shout yes. And when I ask you what the problem is, you should shout people. Then practice it once. And that's the problem with every critter in every grade. Let the frogs hop back to the door to line up to return to class with their teachers, and let the next grade come slithering or swimming or fluttering or buzzing in and buzz around and then sit down. And now you reset the room, and as the next grade starts in, you greet them at the door. You do this 6 times at a K-5 school, leaving 30 or 40 minutes at the end of the day for the all-school assembly. If you're lucky, you'll get 15 minutes for a lunch break in the middle of the day, but don't count on it. You can rest between the all-school assembly and family night that same evening.